Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Alice, and today's video is going to be about the full moon in Scorpio 2024. This is happening on April 23rd, and it's happening at 7:49 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you can translate that to wherever you are in the world. So this full moon is occurring at 4 degrees and 18 minutes, so almost 5 degrees of the Scorpio Taurus axis in the sky or in our own charts, right? So you can look to see what houses Taurus and Scorpio occupy in your own natal chart to see how this full moon is, what aspect of life this full moon is impacting you. And with all full moons, we know that this means there's something that is being illuminated more fully, and as the moon is reflecting the light back from the sun, right? So this is really about the fusion of our internal reality and what we see as the external reality, right? And so with the full moon, we can always come to this recognition or awareness that we're at a specific place of our journey with something, and really we can be assessing if it's something that's in completion, or something that we are fruitioning, or something that we're continuing to build upon, right? And we're kind of getting to the opportunity to look at where we are and where we want to be, or where we're going. And so interestingly, the ruler of the full moon is square. So Pluto is a ruler. Mars is also the ruler of Scorpio. And so Pluto is square. Pluto is square the sun, moon is square Pluto. And so, interestingly too, Pluto's fresh into Aquarius. And so I do think that whatever is happening for us in this time frame, we can be having the pressures or the things that are bubbling up to the surface of consciousness, likely through our feelings or our emotions, right? So because, it's Scorpio, so this is our emotional realm, and it's often things that we've repressed or that we've hidden, maybe because we didn't really know how to work with it, or we weren't psychologically developed enough to work with it, right? So we just have to it just goes into the unconscious, or things that we're just not necessarily, it's kind of it's our shadow or our blind spot, because we just didn't know, or it's the unknown, right? So we can always tell when something's been repressed, because we usually get triggered or angry, right? That's the emotion that will come up, or can come up. It's not the only emotion. It could be grief too, sadness. And speaking of that, it could also be because Pluto's squaring the sun and moon. This could be looking at our relationship to loss, because Pluto, as it is fresh into Aquarius, this is starting to do the work for us, or expose what we personally need to see about ourselves and about our own relationship to Aquarian consciousness. And what is Aquarian consciousness? But it is connecting the dots. I really feel like Aquarius is very much about becoming more and more aware of more dimensions of the self, right? More dimensions of reality. which is expressed with its rulership by Saturn and Uranus, right? So Uranus is about integration, and Saturn is about what we've built so far, and it can be what then, we equate to safety because we've built it, it's worked so far. But Uranus is where it's like, this is part of our consciousness that is like, well, okay, we need to integrate more, And it reminds me of a saying that one of my teachers says, reminding consciousness. And so this is Pluto's work in Aquarius is that part of us, the Aquarian piece, where we're integrating more, we're mining more consciousness. We're able to integrate more as we work with the Uranian aspect of Aquarius. And so it's going to, Pluto in Aquarius is going to likely put the pressure in regards to what's been fixed for us, because this is activating the fixed Grand Cross in the sky, right? So that would be Aquarius, and then as Aquarius opposes Leo, and then how that axis actually squares Taurus and Scorpio. And so Pluto's been activating and, likely bringing up from the unconscious or things that have been repressed, so that we can begin to become more aware of them, more integrative of those aspects of ourselves as well. And so this full moon, being that, it's square Pluto, is helpful because it is going to likely bring up whatever emotional content that can actually give us the cue that, there's something going on in the way in which I've been interpreting my world, the way in which I've been, how I maybe psychologically developed through childhood, through or up to now, right? And how there's something that is changing as a result of a maturation process, being also that that Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, and as I said, Uranus. And interestingly, the other ruler of this full moon, Mars, is in a new phase conjunction to Saturn and Pisces, and then in a balsamic conjunction, which is a completing conjunction with Neptune. And so this, to me, it feels like what we've been going through with Saturn and Pisces, and for a while with Neptune and Pisces, right? Since I think 2010 or 11 that Neptune went into Pisces. I think that we've been deconditioning ourselves from collective ideas, and so that we can actually embrace more inclusive ideas, and just when I say inclusive, I kind of get this idea that comes to my mind, right? That this is also about like integrating our individuality, because Pluto is an Aquarius. And so as Neptune has been going through Pisces, we have the opportunity to dissolve any collective ideas that we osmosed about even ourselves, right? And I think around the masculine and the feminine, because, and the reason I say that is because, we have the nodes of the moon in Aries and Libra, ruled by Mars and Venus. This is the yang form of Mars and Venus, where Mars and Venus also rule Taurus and Scorpio, but that's a yin axis in consciousness. So that means that, this is internal around our relationship to our own Mars and Venus, right? Our desires and uh, our power, our magnetism, and then, you know, so that's the feminine, right? And then Mars, how we act upon that, right? Which is the masculine. So I think, you know, we can be actually ready for new ideas in regards to our relationship to ourselves and our own authenticity, our own authentic expression as we're dissolving old collective ideas about ourselves, or about what we believe, and um, and dream for ourselves, and what, you know, what we think is our service, but also in service to our own evolutionary path. So being that Mars is in a new phase conjunction to Saturn, I think that this is recognizing where we are building something more in alignment with our own personal nature, our own personal passion, Mars, right? What we really want, going for what we really want. And then as Mars continues after the full moon and conjuncts Neptune and moves into a new phase conjunction of Neptune, I think that could be, we could have gone through a process where we're recognizing the results of our own dreaming in a way, and but how we want to move forward in embodying that dream. So interestingly, Mercury is going to go direct the day after the full moon on April 25th. Mercury goes direct. So about 24 hours after, right? So somewhere in there. And it's going to be conjunct the North Node in Aries. And, you know, it's been that we've had, if you've been following my videos or following astrology, you know, we had the new moon solar eclipse. That was the last lunation we experienced. And on April 8th, right? And it was conjunct Chiron. And so there's a lot of activation around Chiron. And we also know that Mars and Venus were in Aries. Venus is still in Aries. And so there's this connection around this Mercury retrograde there around, I think, because anytime we have a Mercury retrograde, this is consciousness moving inward. It's going into more of our right brain thinking, our intuitive functions. So we're really actually allowing messages to drop in and to come in internally. And so it is a time where we can kind of rest and relax in our communications so that we can receive more communications from our own higher mind, you know? And so this being in Aries and traversing the North Node, Chiron, Mars, Venus was in there. I just think this is very much around, you know, who we are and how our own masculine and our own feminine nature plays into the self-actualization process of our own authenticity, our own authentic essence, our own authentic service, and what is in service to us, you know, in regards to our relationship to this self-actualization process. And I say that too because Pluto in Aquarius is going to be exposing what is empowering and where are you leaking your power in your own creative self-actualization process. And we create with our masculine and our feminine. Our masculine is just moving forward with what it is that we're passionate about, what we love, what our heart has been telling us internally, what we've been sensing through the heart, right? And also through our senses, the body, right? Taurus. And so, yeah, you know, this is our masculine, how we're actually really taking care of our senses, hearing them, hearing the natural self, not what we should or think we should be, or what we should be doing. I know I've been dealing with a lot of that during this whole eclipse season, is what I think I should be doing, but what I feel like doing in the moment. And it's been really intense because I have all of these things I want to do, but it's not necessarily in the time frame that I think it should be. And so I've been really trying to listen to my instincts, which is a Mars key word, is your instincts. And so kind of like, what's your relationship to your instincts? Do you trust your instincts? Where it's like, where you could in your mind go, well, I really wanted to get this video out by this date, right? But every time you went to try to do it, there was somebody mowing the lawn outside. Or every time you were trying to do it, you were really just tired and you didn't want to. Or you're going to do it and you get a phone call and then it knocks you off your video and you don't feel like starting again. Whatever, you know? So I've been working with that a lot. And I think that that is a good example for what we can be looking at is our own instincts. And what is our relationship to them? And where is there a difference between like our true natural instinct and then the choices we make? That would be very much appropriate to be considered during this Mercury retrograde as well in Aries, right? And you know, Venus in its rulership to Taurus is about self-trust, trusting what you desire. And it's not, you know, I think sometimes we can have distortions around our desires because we've been taught not to trust them, or and maybe we experienced where we did trust our desires, but it didn't give us the result that we thought it was going to be. And so we were kind of questioning what we were doing, and we might have even incurred some pain because of that, right? Like we trusted ourselves, but then we didn't get the result that we thought. But really, it was just a clue on the bigger picture of things, right? So we misunderstood it, and we could have created a wound, right? So just, you know, looking at our instincts and acting upon our desires. And, you know, Venus is our desires. It's yin, it's the heart chakra, correlated to the heart chakra, right, to Taurus. And so this is about, you know, trusting our desires, and our instinct to act on them will actually create the resonance and the magnetism for what is there to assist us on that path, right? And you know, remember that Chiron, you know, so Chiron's in Aries, but Chiron's gonna go into Taurus. You know what? I went to go look that up, and then I think I got distracted. But it's gonna be going into Taurus, and it might be 2027. But let me see, actually. But the reason I bring that up is because Chiron's working on our relationship right now to our own masculine Mars, individually and collectively. And then when Chiron moves into Taurus, it'll be working with our Venus individually and collectively. And this is to individuate, to actually really come into the self-actualization of your own unique, brilliant light. Why? Because Pluto's in Aquarius, and it is about revealing your unique brilliance. But you have to be who you are in order to do that, right? You have to really be authentic to who you are, to your own relationship to your desires, and to magnetizing your desires to you based on how you act upon them. Mars, right? You're masculine, and really owning that, you know, owning your desires, and you're going for them and trusting yourself. Self-trust. Taurus, self-worth and self-appreciation, you know. So this is, you know, also Jupiter and Uranus just conjuncted in Taurus. I'm sure if you're following astrology, you know, on April 20th, right? And that's a 14-year transit, and it hasn't happened in Taurus since 1941. And so you can go and Google 1941, check out what was going on in the world scene, get the kind of, well, I mean, I would say you could not just say 1941, but the years after, the difference between 1941 and then 14 years after, and then made another conjunction. But anyways, this conjunction being in Taurus, this is really amazing potential, because Jupiter expands whatever it touches. And it does that so that we can learn. So this is a, you know, like a boost to something that we're integrating and learning and exploring and discovering. And Taurus is, well, first of all, Jupiter expanding, right? Uranus is about integration, and it's about connecting all the dots, right? It's about become, you know, this new integrated self, as well as the a unique something. So this is like discovering something new, something brilliant about yourself, your value, being Taurus, right? Taurus is our values and our value, how we appreciate ourselves, what we love, the sensory experience, our sensuality, experiencing all the senses in the body, right? And utilizing the senses to navigate as clues on your path to your own creative brilliance and self-actualizing what you love and that brilliance, right? And what you want to create, who you are as a masterpiece in and of yourself. And so yeah, I just lost my train of thought. I want to see when Chiron goes into Taurus. So let me get that for you. Okay, so Chiron goes into Taurus. Ooh, June 19th of 2026. So it's not 2027, it's 2026. Oh, actually, but then it retrogrades back into Aries. And so then it goes into Taurus for good April 14th of 2027. So I was right. All right. So, yeah, so there you go. But this is, this healing potential of our relationships. And that is what's happening right now too, is the North Node being in Aries, South Node in Libra, this activation of how we're interacting in engaging in relationships. And first and foremost, our relationship with ourselves, which has to do with our relationship to our own desires, our own senses, what we're sensing, not what someone else is sensing, but what we are sensing, and how that translates for us on our own personal path and our own empowerment. And so, as we're doing the healing work with Mars and how we actually initiate relationships, how we engage in relationship of anything and everything in the outside world, then as Chiron goes into Taurus, it's going to be really healing the relationship with the self, with, relationship to loss, to, our sense of value and values, and also our relationship to power and empowerment. And so remembering that Pluto in Aquarius for 20 years is going to be squaring the fixed Grand Cross in our charts, in our sky, in our psychological development, right? And what is fixed, often doesn't like to change. And so if we resist the changes, we will just have more of the Plutonian dynamics going on that would be shadowy dynamics, right? With Pluto and Aquarius. So the more we're resisting our own transformations and our own changes that are actually meant to support us into building the new reality that is more authentic to our own creative expression, as individuals, as co-creators, all of us, right? Individuating from ideas of who we think we should be, or who we should be, but more who we are, so that we can bring more love and light in the world, right? That's authentic and genuine, and deeply rooted. So this is definitely an opportunity, to likely begin to look at our relationship to loss and power and empowerment, and our relationship to our own senses and our own instincts, and how that impacts our intimacy with ourself and our capacity for intimacy with others. And so, remembering too that Pluto will also be bringing up ideas around sensuality and sexuality as well, I think. So, and sharing our resources with each other, how we're sharing our resources with each other. Are we getting a good return on our investments? Things like that. So, also, just to say, I think we all know by now that the financial system has been underneath the surface of things being deconstructed and reconstructed. So we're in the midst of that. And I think it's that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus is likely a big expression of this new financial system that will be unfolding for the next 14 years. So likely this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus is going to bring out more cultural integration of new currencies, including digital currencies, because it's Uranus, right? That's technology. And so new technologies. And I think, the cool thing about it is that it's going to give the opportunity to connect financially with other cultures and, globally in a much more expanded way. So we know that's been going on. Some people don't, though. I mean, some people don't. They might know a little, but they don't know. They haven't been researching it. But it's a good time to research it. So if you haven't already, it's definitely a good time, because by the time this conjunction happens in another sign in 14 years, I think that our lives are going to look a lot different, because the financial system will be so different. And so we want to be aware of how that impacts us personally and how we want to position ourselves for that change. And so if you haven't already, I encourage you to look into digital currencies and learn what you can, learn about the financial system, and about the country you live in, and whatever's happening financially in your country, and of course with the global currencies. So anyways, that is interesting and exciting, and I think that this year is definitely a bridge year. I think once we move into 2025, that ball is going to be really rolling. And so it's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty quick after this year. And in the United States, being that it's an election year, I definitely think it's going to bring digital currencies much more up to the forefront politically. And so then, of course, more people will be exposed to that, and just it's going to become more mainstream understanding how digital currencies will likely be coming into a major role in our lives soon. So anyways, I think that's all for now. So if this is aspecting anything in your own chart, it's good to be aware. Remember, the full moon's at almost 5 degrees of Scorpio. And, remember too that this is going to be exposing our relationship to our own self-reliance and our own, like I said, desires, but, I think self-reliance for sure, because Pluto is squaring the sun in Taurus. And so how much we're really trusting ourselves and valuing ourselves. And whatever emotions come up, what ideas are bringing those emotions, and how are they correlated to self-reliance, to self-trust, to self-value, to our relationship, to our resources, to ourselves as a resource, to our sexuality, to our intimacy with ourselves and intimacy with others. So to intimate bonds as well. What are our ideas about those things? Because Jupiter-Uranus conjunct is activating that as well. How do we relate to our sexuality? What do we believe about it? How do we relate to our intimacy? What do we believe about it? How can we integrate more of who we are in our intimacy with ourselves, and more dimensions of ourselves, more dimensions of our own sensuality, and more dimensions of our own sexuality as well, perhaps. So all of those things can be coming up, and it's all a blessing, so that you get to do that Plutonian work, which is going into the defaults, the scripts written in the default settings that have become instinct, that no longer apply or no longer are effective for what you know now, what is present for you now. And so this is to empower you so that you can self-actualize your personal, authentic brilliance and be in relationship to those that can also reflect that back to you. So I hope this is helpful. If so, please let me know. Like the video, it helps the algorithm, and comment. Let me know how it's going for you. If you feel like it, eclipse season, how was it for you? The Jupiter Uranus, anything interesting happen so far? Just know that it's not going to be necessarily on the day of the conjunction or the day before or the day after. It's something that, like seeds, they get planted and they grow in the dark, right, for a little while, and then they get strong and, you know, they unfurl. So you never know what surprises are coming based on what's been, you know, being planted there, in your own expansion and your own exploratory process of your own reason to incarnate, your own values and your own empowerment. So yeah, let me know how it's going in the comments, and I feel like there was something else I was going to say. Oh, yeah, and if you want a reading, I do personal readings. So you can find me at knowthyselfandheal.com, and you can email me, and it's at knowthyselfandheal@gmail.com, and you can book your session. So anyways, thanks so much for joining me and joining the conversation, and I'll see you on the next video.